Have you ever felt that desperate, itching urge to fill a void in a conversation? That moment where the air grows thick with an unspoken tension, and your brain begins to scramble, grasping at any trivial detail or awkward joke just to kill the quiet. Why do we fear the absence of sound as if it were a physical threat? We live in a world that equates noise with presence and volume with authority. But what if I told you that by constantly speaking, you are actually leaking your power? What if the most influential person in the room isn't the one dominating the microphone, but the one who has mastered the art of saying nothing at all? Imagine a high-stakes boardroom on the 42nd floor of a glass and steel skyscraper. The city below is a blur of kinetic energy, but inside this room, the air is stagnant and heavy. Meet Elias. Elias is a man who has built a career on being the smartest person in the room, or at least making sure everyone thinks he is. He is fast-talking, charismatic, and possesses an answer for every possible objection before it's even been voiced. Today, however, Elias is sweating. He is across the table from a woman named Sarah, a legendary negotiator known for a singular, unsettling trait. She almost never speaks first. As Elias launches into his pitch, his words are a frantic torrent. He explains the projections, the synergies, and the historical data. He speaks faster and faster, his hands moving in jagged arcs. Every time he finishes a point and pauses for a breath, Sarah simply nods. She doesn't interrupt. She doesn't offer a "how interesting" or a "tell me more." She sits with her hands interlaced, her gaze steady and neutral. To Elias, her silence feels like a vacuum, a black hole that is sucking the confidence right out of his chest. Because she isn't giving him any feedback, he begins to over-explain. He starts revealing details he intended to keep secret. He offers concessions she hadn't even asked for yet, all because he is trying to bridge the unbearable gap of her silence. This is the hidden psychology of the quiet. When we speak, we are often reacting to our own internal anxieties. We speak to defend ourselves, to prove our worth, or to mask our insecurities. But when you choose silence, you shift the center of gravity in any interaction. You stop being the one who is reacting and start being the one who is observing. Silence is not a void. It is a tool of profound psychological pressure. It forces the other person to confront their own thoughts, and more often than not, they will reveal their hand just to make the ringing in their ears stop. Elias eventually runs out of breath. He has spoken for 20 minutes straight, and as he stops, the room falls into a silence so profound you can hear the hum of the air conditioning. Sarah lets that silence hang. She doesn't rush to fill it. She waits an extra 5 seconds, which feels like an hour to Elias, before she finally speaks. When she does, her voice is low, calm, and deliberate. She asks one single piercing question that dismantles his entire presentation. Because she spent the last 20 minutes listening instead of preparing her next sentence, she heard the one inconsistency Elias tried to gloss over. The power of silence lies in its ability to create a scarcity of words. In economics, the less there is of a commodity, the more valuable it becomes. The same applies to your speech. If you are a constant fountain of words, your opinions begin to lose their weight. People start to tune you out because they know exactly what you're going to say. But if you are someone who speaks rarely, people lean in when you open your mouth. Your words are treated like gold because they are rare. They are seen as the result of deep deliberation rather than impulsive reaction. Consider the way silence functions in our personal lives. Think of a time you were in an argument with someone you love. Usually, these conflicts are a race to see who can shout their grievances the loudest. We stop listening and start reloading our verbal weapons. But imagine the shift in dynamic if, in the heat of a confrontation, you simply stopped. Imagine if you looked at the other person, took a deep breath, and just listened. Not a cold, stony silence meant to punish, but a heavy, reflective silence that says you are actually processing what is being said. It is disarming. It strips the fuel away from the fire. It forces the other person to hear the echoes of their own harsh words, which is often the most effective way to trigger empathy. In the ancient schools of philosophy, silence was considered the ultimate discipline. The Pythagoreans famously required new students to observe a strict vow of silence for 5 years. They believed that until a person could master their tongue, they could never master their mind. This is because speaking is an outward energy, while silence is an inward one. When we are silent, we are forced to turn our gaze inward. We are forced to sit with our discomfort, our boredom, and our wandering thoughts. This internal confrontation is where true self-awareness is born. As Elias sits in that boardroom, he realizes he has lost the upper hand. He realizes that by trying to control the room with his voice, he has actually surrendered control to the woman who stayed quiet. Sarah's silence gave her the time to analyze the subtext. She wasn't just hearing his words. She was watching the micro-expressions on his face, the way his foot tapped nervously under the table, and the way he avoided eye contact when mentioning the third quarter losses. Silence is the ultimate vantage point. It allows you to see the battlefield while everyone else is too busy fighting to notice the terrain. There is also a profound dignity in silence. We often feel the need to defend our reputation or explain our side of the story when we are misunderstood. We want to litigate our lives in the court of public opinion. But there is a certain quiet strength in allowing your actions to speak for you. When you don't feel the need to justify yourself to everyone who misjudges you, you demonstrate a level of self-assurance that is rare in the modern age. You are essentially saying that your reality is not dependent on their approval. This type of silence acts as a shield. It keeps your inner peace protected from the noise of the world. Think about the most iconic leaders in history, or even the most captivating characters in cinema. They are rarely the ones who are yapping incessantly. They are the figures who use brevity as a weapon. They understand that the more you talk, the more likely you are to say something foolish or reveal a weakness. Robert Greene, in his study of power, notes that powerful people impress and intimidate by saying less. The more you say, the more common you appear. By staying quiet, you maintain an air of mystery and unpredictability. You become a riddle that others feel compelled to solve, and in their quest to understand you, they grant you a position of influence. However, the power of silence isn't just about manipulation or strategy. It is about the quality of our connection to the world. When we are constantly talking, we are essentially broadcasting. We are sending signals out, but we aren't receiving much. Silence is the receive mode of the human experience. It is only in the quiet that we can hear the nuance in a friend's voice, the sound of the wind through the trees, or the small, still voice of our own intuition. If your life is a constant soundtrack of chatter, you will miss the subtle cues that lead to the most important breakthroughs. Elias left that meeting feeling defeated, but he also left with a profound realization. He spent the walk back to his office in total silence. He didn't call anyone to vent. He didn't put on a podcast. He just walked. And in that quiet, for the first time in months, he actually felt his own heartbeat. He realized that his constant talking was a nervous habit, a way to outrun the fear that he wasn't enough just as he was. He realized that he had been using words as a distraction from his own lack of direction. This is the psychological weight of the deep mind. We often think that thinking is a loud process, full of internal monologues and debates. But the deepest insights often arrive in the moments between thoughts. They arrive in the stillness. When you learn to embrace silence, you aren't just becoming more powerful in your social interactions. You are becoming more powerful within yourself. You are developing a centeredness that cannot be shaken by the chaos of the outside world. You become like the deep ocean. The surface might be choppy and loud, but the depths are silent, vast, and immovable. In your own life, try a small experiment. Tomorrow, in your meetings, in your dinners, or in your casual hangouts, try to be the last person to speak. Listen twice as much as you talk. When someone asks you a question, take a deliberate 3-second pause before you answer. Watch how the energy in the room changes. Watch how people begin to look at you with a new kind of respect. Notice how much more information you gather when you aren't busy formulating your response. You will find that silence is not the absence of power, but the very source of it. The world is only going to get louder. The digital age has given everyone a megaphone and a platform, making silence an even more precious and rare commodity. By choosing to be quiet, you are opting out of the frantic race for attention. You are choosing to be the observer rather than the performer. And in that choice, you find a freedom that the noisy world can never understand. You find the ability to lead, to influence, and to understand the human soul at a level that words could never reach. Elias didn't get the deal that day, but he gained something far more valuable. He gained a seat at his own table. He stopped being a slave to the need for validation through speech and started becoming a master of his own presence. He learned that the most powerful thing you can say is often nothing at all. He learned that silence is a sanctuary, a weapon, and a mirror, all at once. If you found this exploration of the human psyche valuable, you are exactly where you belong. We dive deep into these hidden layers of the mind every week, uncovering the invisible forces that shape our lives. To continue this journey with us and to unlock the secrets of your own potential, make sure to subscribe to Deep Mind Portal. Join our community of thinkers and seekers who choose to look beneath the surface. Thank you for listening, and remember, in a world that never stops talking, your silence is your greatest strength.